Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at League of Dungeoneers. This is a Kickstarter game and it is a massive box of old school dungeon crawling goodness designed by Michael Lundstedt and put out by Braus Publishing. And I got it a couple weeks ago, opened it up, and I've started to dig through, organize, and beginning to make our party. Now you'll see that this is a tome that you get. This is a 230 plus page book of the instructions, and it even has some of the quests in the back. Quest book 1 is in the very back, but you don't have to read everything and understand everything about the game to get started. In fact, it tells you that the first thing you do before you start dungeon crawling is create a party of 4 characters. And so that's what we're going to do. In this video, I'm going to run through character creation and we'll make a new party to begin playing League of Dungeoneers. The game tells you that it's designed to be played with a party of 4. You don't have to do that, but you'll be making the game much harder for yourself if you don't. And over here, I've got some roles for 3 characters that I've made. I need to make a 4th character, and we're going to go ahead and do that now before we start playing League of Dungeoneers. When you first open up this book, which explains all you need to know about League of Dungeoneers, you'll be greeted with a couple paragraphs about the kingdom, which is where this game takes place. You'll get a table of contents, and then you'll start getting some indexes of art. You'll have a rundown of the components, and then you'll eventually get to the spot where you'll start learning some of the terminology of the game. That's all here. Game basics, concepts, house rules, tiles, difficulty. This is where it tells us we play with 4 characters. And we'll keep going through some gameplay examples. This is kind of where you want to start. This is party management. And you'll start to see some character basics here. And eventually we'll get over to the page we want to be at, which is creating your character. So you notice the game tells us that the first thing we need to do when we're creating a character is to choose a species. We have created so far an elf ranger, a human wizard, and a dwarven warrior. We didn't end up going with barbarian, we went with warrior. So for this 4th character that we're going to fill in over here, we're going to create a halfling. You turn the page, you'll see that there's a write-up about each of the species within the game. They each have different stats, starting traits, and points that they get for damage. So halflings are even shorter than dwarves, but are surprisingly hardy. They are very seldom wearing shoes. Halflings are even shorter than dwarves, but are surprisingly hardy. They very seldom wear shoes, and good food and ale are always on the menu. Even though they are known to be good-tempered and generally jolly, they can be very courageous, and they are very deadly indeed in a fight. Given their diminutive stature, they often gravitate towards stealthier professions, such as thieves and rogues. There are not many known halfling wizards or alchemists, but this is not unheard of. They prefer weapons like daggers, short sword, or ranged weapons, and the ranged weapons they prefer are short bows and slings. So you see there's our stats here. Their strength is going to be 20 plus a d10. Their constitution is going to be 20 plus a d10. Dex is 40 plus 1 d10 roll. Wisdom is 30 plus a d10. And their resolve is 40 plus a d10. They're going to start with lucky. They start with 1 point of luck. No other species starts with any luck. And their hit point roll is going to be a d6 plus 5. Here we have one of the many sheets that League of Dungeoneers gives you. This is a character sheet. There are other sheets for your party as well. And the game tells you when you begin to fill in this sheet to not write too heavily. In fact, I'm writing on this separate piece of paper here because our stats are going to change as our character develops. I've already filled in our species. We're going to start at level 1, and we know because we're halfling, we do get 1 luck. Every character starts with 1 energy as well. We'll move on and talk about our profession in a minute, but first we're going to copy over all the stats that the halfling starts with. Right, so we know that our halfling begins with 20 strength, 20 con, 40 dex, 30 wisdom, and 40 resolve. We get to roll a d10 for each of these stats, and we get to roll a d6 for our hit points. The game tells us that we begin with 2 re-rolls as well. We also get a pool of 15 points that we get to put into any of these stats, but we have to spend them on multiple attributes. We can't spend all 15 on one. In fact, the max you can put into one of these categories is 10. So let's go ahead and do some rolling. So we've got our d10 over here. We're going to roll these 5 stats and then the d6 for hit points. And again, we can re-roll 2 of these rolls. You cannot re-roll a re-roll, but you can pick the higher if you re-roll a lower stat, which is pretty generous. So our strength roll is going to be 3. Con is a 10. Awesome. Dex, 5. Wisdom is a 6. Resolve, another 6. For our hit points, we'll roll the d6 here. Oop. We got a 5. Pretty good. So that's a total of 11 HP. I think we'll re-roll the 3 and maybe re-roll the 5. The 3 becomes a 10. We're keeping that. And we'll re-roll this 5. That's a 7. Pretty good spread. 2 10s. So now what we're going to do is begin to carry over these numbers to our character sheet over here. You'll notice there are a couple of slashes on these particular attributes here. I'll explain them as we go. So we're going to lightly write them in because, again, we have a pool of 15 that we can add to our rolls here. This is what the game calls a specialization. So the strength, we're looking at 30. Con, we're looking at 30. Dex, we're looking at a 47. And the slash you see here is an M. This capital M means movement. Every hero starts with 4 movement. So we'll just put that in there. Our wisdom is going to be a 36. Our resolve is going to be a 46. And our HP is going to be 11. Based on all these over here. I think what I want to do is add 10 to our dex to make it a 57 out of our specialization pool. And we've got 5 points left. We'll put it all in Constitution. To go up to 35. So the 2 slashes you see in the strength and constitution areas are a damage bonus and a natural armor bonus. And you'll see here on the creating your character sheet, this is just one of the many times you will look at a table. In fact, there's another one to look at up here in just a moment. So the damage bonus is calculated by the strength you have. If you have over 60 strength, you're going to go ahead and get a damage bonus of 1. 70, you'll get a damage bonus of 2 that you'll add to damage rolls. 80 is 3. And then you look at Constitution for a natural armor score. In this case, it begins at 50 with a +1 bonus. But our character has neither 60 strength nor 50 Constitution, so our bonuses there are going to be 0. You'll see here, this is also another area we can fill in. This is a one-handed and two-handed class section. This table I referred to up here tells you what class of weapons you can use, two-handed or one. And these are going to be the class of weapons that you get in the equipment section later on. So with a 30 strength, that means our one-handed strength requirement allows us to have a class 2 weapon. And for two-handing, we could actually take a class 3 weapon. So we'll fill those in as well. 2 for one hand, 3 for two hand. Now that we've got our species and our skills begun, we need to move on to the profession and talents section, which is in the following pages of the book. So for this character, we are going to make a rogue. The rogue walks a thin line between what is legal and what is illegal. Some overstep the line completely to become highwaymen, robbing unfortunate passersby. Others take day-to-day work, drifting from one town to another. That's what we'll do. We're not going to play evil. Accustomed to a harsh life and surviving on their own, they are jacks of all trades, ready to do whatever it takes to make a living. The first thing we'll see in the rogue section of the book is that we get a couple of talents, backstabber as well as streetwise, but we don't get any perks. We'll fill those in now. We have flipped over to one of the appendices near the back of the book. This is page 161, and we're looking at the sneaky talents. Backstabber allows us to ignore enemy armor and natural armor when attacking from behind. Natural armor is what I just mentioned in that table section. Also, if we look down, this is another sneaky talent we get. Streetwise, our hero knows who to turn to in order to acquire the gear he is searching for. Every roll this hero makes for availability may be modified by -1. With this talent, it can only be taken by a rogue, which is what we're doing. So you'll notice that there are roles in this game for nearly everything. So after we've adventured or delved into a dungeon and returning to one of the many settlements in League of Dungeoneers, we can go shopping, and we'll make a roll to see if the thing we're trying to find is available at that particular settlement. So because of Streetwise, it's a little easier to do so. If you flip your character sheet over, you'll notice there's a spot for talents. Backstabber and Streetwise are now filled in here with their effect filled in as well. The next thing we'll want to look at in the rogue section is our starting equipment. Since we get no perks, we'll move on down to that. We get a short sword or rapier, a padded jacket, 10 lockpicks, and a medium backpack. We also notice there's some limitations here. A rogue may never use armor heavier than mail. After we get that all sorted out and notated, we will look at our skills. You'll see there's many tables for equipment as well. General equipment is over here, armor and shields are over here, and then equipment itself is in Appendix 3, which begins on page 163. So I think we're going to do a short sword here because we do a little bit more damage than the rapier. It's a bit heavier. This is encumbrance. This is class. We looked at this in the beginning when we looked at what class of weapons we can one-hand and two-hand. We should be fine with a short sword here. That's well within our parameters because of our strength. And we get a +2 bonus to dual wield. When we dual wield, these weapons can be used in an offhand if your hero has a dual wielding skill. The X indicates the extra damage caused by a successful attack. It's dual wield +2 in this case for the X. We'll also look over at the padded jacket that we get in the armor section, and we'll see that it gives us a defense of 2, encumbrance of 5. It covers our arms and torso. We can be hit in different spots when enemies attack us, and it is stackable. Since this is our starting equipment, we don't have to yet worry about availability or cost. If you look at your character sheet, there's spots for all of these things, so we'll go ahead and fill that stuff out now. The next thing we need to do, according to our profession section, is take a look at the skills. What we're going to do is take the base stat for each of these skills, according to our character sheet, and then we'll add this modifier. We also get something that's called a free skill, which allows us to take one of these negative modifiers and turn it into a +10. So let's go ahead and carry all that stuff over and see how it shakes out. So you'll notice on our character sheet that each of these skills section has an attribute underneath it. And we're going to start taking that attribute, carrying it over from our base attribute scores, adding the modifier from our skill section in our profession, and doing that math, and that'll be our skills. So the first skill we see here is a combat skill. Our modifier is +0. So that means we're just going to carry over our dex, which is a 57. That is our starting combat skill. The same is going to be true for the next section, RS. This is our ranged skill. Our base is 57 because we're looking at dex, but again, we get another 0, so it'll be 57. Our next skill we get is a dodge skill. This is another +0 modifier, so 57 across the board here so far. We finally do have something changing with the next skill. That is a pick locks skill. That is a -5. That might be a good one for our free skill. I have a wizard who is going to do healing, so his healing is probably not worth doing it. Alchemy is not really something I don't think we're going to play with in this first playthrough. So yeah, I think we'll make our pick locks, instead of a -5, we'll make it a +10. So pick locks is another dex skill. We'll add 10 to that because of the free skill and make our pick lock skill 67. Now we start to look at the wisdom skills. Barter is going to be a +5. Our wisdom base here is a 36, meaning our barter is going to be 41. Our heal is a -10, so 10 from 36 is 26. We're not that great of a healer. Alchemy, same thing, 36, but -25. Our alchemy skill is going to be 11. Perception, no bonus there, so it'll just be a base 36. And finally, we look at our con, which is a 35 for foraging. No bonus or modifier from foraging. So we get 35 in that. And we do actually get a modifier for our hit points, which is a +1 for being a rogue. So we'll change our 11 hit points to 12. Okay, so now I think we do want to go back to equipment and take a look at some other things to buy for our new character here. We also can share gold between the party, and I think I want to get some more armor for our wizard. Perhaps we will just look here, but let's go all the way to 163 where the equipment tables begin, and we'll take a look there. It's also important for us to have some dungeon delving tools, some things that will help us once we are down in different levels, so we can look through there. Perhaps some rope might be good. If we happen to trip into a pit, we can use rope. I think we'll get some of that. 50 coins. We'll subtract that from the 150 we have. Give us 100 left. I think we're going to look here and also buy a padded cap for our rogue and one for our wizard as well. Here's our wizard that we built, and they just have a leather vest. So we're going to give them a padded cap. Which is a defensive 2, adds 1 to encumbrance, no special ability. And we'll do the same thing for our rogue. So that gives us 40 coins left. Why don't we buy some fishing gear? A good fishing rod always makes life better. With this, a hero's foraging skill increases to +5. We'll spend the last of our gold to get some fishing gear. And you'll see on the back, Along with some spots for talents, which we've already used, perks, which we don't have, we have a backpack here. And with our medium-sized backpack, it allows us to carry a little bit more, but we're going to go ahead and put our fishing gear here in the backpack. That's where we put our lock picks earlier in our starting gear. It has an encumbrance of 3 and no durability score, but has a value of 40. So once we have all the gear that we want, we'll take all the encumbrance scores and add them all together. So we've got 3, 7 is 10, 11, 16, 10, 11, 16. That's right, double checking here. Down here on the bottom, you've got a spot for encumbrance. Your encumbrance can never be above your strength. Our strength is 30, encumbrance is 16, so we're good for now. Don't have any status effects. We don't have any XP, we're at 0, and now we're out of coins as well. Another thing you can do is add a background, which is a purely optional step. We've taken a background in every other character we've built so far, so I think we're going to do it. These are a little scary though, because they can be good things or they can be kind of devastatingly difficult things. For example, our Dwarven Warrior here has the background of a fraud. So he had got -10 to his combat skill, range skill, dodge, and resolve until they increase those back to 10, and then he gets an extra 10 resolve and 1500 XP. So a great XP bonus there when you complete the task or the personal quest, but man, is it tough to get a -10 on everything. But we've done it with everybody else, so we're just going to go for it. We roll a d20. There are 20 backgrounds in the book, and we'll see which one we get. If we get one that we have already on one of our characters, I don't think we'll get it. We'll roll one more time, and then if not, we'll just keep our new character pretty vanilla here. So here we go. Here's the roll for background, and it's a 14. I believe that is one we had. Let's set the fraud again. What is 14? 11's the fraud, and we have the noble as well. But 14 is the family keep. We don't have this one. We have Troll Slayer, we have the fraud, and I believe the noble, which gave our wizard a lot of money. But here's what the family keep says. Generations ago, your family was considered to be amongst the finer families in the kingdom. The king granted your great-grandfather a keep as a token of his status. Sadly, his terrible financial sins and his lust for alcohol, gambling, and a general decadence slowly reduced the keep to a shadow of its former glory. Once your great-grandfather passed away, the keep was abandoned, and it has been since occupied by creatures of the night. Randomize one quest location on the map, using the white numbers to situate the ruins of your keep. Although it is far beyond repair, you feel it is your ancestral duty to purge the place of its current occupants. So we're going to clear out the keep. That's our personal quest. This is a cool one. I like this one a lot. Whether you go there as a part of another quest or if you decide to go there for this sole purpose, you must clear the entire dungeon. Every tile must be placed on the table and all enemies must be killed. If you go there specifically for this purpose, use the generic dungeon generator to create the dungeon. Once the dungeon's cleared, 1500 XP. Okay, cool. Let's get out the map and we will populate that. So here's the large neoprene map we got as part of the Kickstarter version of League of Dungeoneers, and you'll notice, like down here, there are quest sites that have a different number on them. Now there are more than 22. There are more than a D20 would give you, but I'm just going to roll a D20 and see if we can find that closest number on here to randomize the site. So here we go. And it's an 11. We'll find 11 on the map. And here we go. We found a white 11 up here on the top left portion of the map. That is where the family keep is going to be. Here we go, down here on this spot right here. We've got a spot for our background. So I put the family keep, clear out a full dungeon on quest site 11 based on the random dungeon generator. So we flip back towards page 30, and we're looking at the final touches now of our character creator section. Once you've gotten spells, prayers, and equipment, we don't need most of that stuff. We did get equipment. We look at sanity. Our hero is going to start with a sanity value of 10. There's a spot for that right here. Every hero does so. Luck, all non-halfling heroes start the game with 0 luck. We are a halfling, so we get 1 luck right there. And of course, we're going to start at level 1, so our experience is 0. Party morale is something that's very important once we're looking through dungeons. So to calculate party morale, we need to divide our resolve by 10, then drop the decimal. And all other characters, once they've done the same, we'll add that all together and we'll get our party morale. So our resolve is 46. We'll divide it by 10 to get 4. And you'll look here, this is a really neat other sheet you get. This is a party sheet. You've got spots for 4 heroes. Our 4th hero down here, their sanity is 10, energy is going to be 1, health is going to be 12. So you can mark this 10 heart and do that. And now that we got 4 more morale, we're going to add it up here to the party morale tracker to get a total of 15. That is going to be our starting morale. At this point, now that we've got 4 heroes, we can embark on our first quest. So we'll go over here to that section in the book. When we start the game, we should randomize what settlement the party is in. And these are the eligible ones: Kalekirk, Irondale, Windfair, Whiteport, Rochdale, Colefell, Freyfell, and if we roll an 8 on our D8, we will re-roll. So here we go. A 6, we're going to start in Colefell. Let's look back at the map. So Colefell is going to be down here near the mountains. That's pretty far from our family keep up there, but that's where we're starting. Colefell is down here, kind of the eastern side of the map near the mountains. That is pretty far from where our keep is up there, but this is where we start. So now that we know where we're starting and we know what our party is going to be, we're ready to embark on our first quest. And the book tells us if this is going to be your first quest, then they recommend doing the First Blood quest. Then as a second quest, start the Spring Cleaning quest for the Rising Dead campaign and go from there. There's a lot more in this game, a lot to get into. There's stuff like stats and skills maximums. There's leveling up that allows you to get more perks, all sorts of stuff. There's magic that we haven't even talked about. There's an alchemist character that can throw bottles of acid and that kind of thing. So there's a really tremendous amount of stuff to get into in League of Dungeoneers, and it's quite bang for your buck if you're thinking about it. There's settlements, there's arena fighting. It's like playing Elder Scrolls. An older school Elder Scrolls game. Different perks, yeah, all sorts of stuff. And then the quest book is back here. I'd love to do a few more videos on this game. I'll probably get overwhelmed. Here's the Dead Rising campaign. Spring Cleaning would be the second quest we embark upon. And First Blood is here. Here's the introductory quest, and this is how you use quest. Man, so if I make more videos, I'll probably make a lot of mistakes. So if you're playing this game, I'd love to play it with you, and we can talk about it in the comments and how to do that. But if you'd like to see more, let me know. But that's it for making a character. We have a party. We'll name everybody. We haven't done that. And we'll try to go ahead and do the introductory quest here soon. So thanks for watching and checking this out. If you did, let me know if I skipped any steps, anything I missed. But as far as I understand, I have a party that is ready to go. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.